Hi everybody and welcome to my channel, Your Strength Within. My name is Emmanuel Ben Isaac and I'm here to help you overcome your anxiety. If you're a first-time listener, just a little bit about my channel and what's it about. I basically help people overcome their anxiety by sharing tips and my own experience of how I overcame my anxiety disorder. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do so you can receive notification when my new videos come out. And if you do enjoy this episode, please click the like button and share it with somebody that you think that would benefit from it. On today's episode, what I'll be talking about is my own personal journey with anxiety. How I got anxiety, when was the first time I got it, and how I overcame it. And just my own experience through the entire time, just to give you a more understanding so that you're able to relate and understand what you're going through happens to a lot of people. Maybe the story might be different details wise, but the symptoms, the thought process, the way we're thinking is very similar. So what happened to me was whenever I first experienced anxiety was whenever I was 20 years old. It's going on already for 12 years since I first experienced anxiety, and today I'm anxiety free. And of course, it does take time to overcome that and to get to that point of that mindset in order to be able to not have anxiety. And I'm going to be talking about that and how I did it and everything through the episode. So whenever I was 20 years old, I first experienced anxiety. I remember exactly where I was, what I was doing. It was a Friday night on December 24th. It was around 11 p.m. I was sitting in my parents' living room and I was reading a book. I used to have a lot of anger issues, so I used to read books about anger in order to help me better understand my emotion and to be able to fix it. So I was reading that book about anger, and what happened was I was sitting over there, and then all of a sudden I felt this feeling I can't really explain. It's just something that's hard to explain, but I felt this fear out of nowhere and this panic. And I was like, what is this feeling? I didn't quite understand what was going on with me. I'm like, everything seems fine. I'm like, nobody's here. It was late at night, 11 o'clock. Everybody was in bed already. I'm by myself over there. I'm like, I'm not high. I used to smoke a lot of weed. Because whenever you smoke weed, you just feel different. And that's the way I felt over there. I felt different. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And I was like panicking a little bit. I said to myself, you know what? Let's go to bed. And tomorrow morning, you'll feel better. Because this is what I used to do whenever I used to smoke. And I used to, let's say, feel paranoid. I used to go to bed and I used to wake up the next morning. I used to feel much better. So I said to myself, in this place, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to sleep. And the next morning, I'm going to wake up brand new and everything be gone and I'll feel much better. The next morning, I remember waking up and I still felt the same way as I did the night before. And I felt like I wasn't getting better. I'm like, why is this thing not going away? I'm so confused. I didn't understand. Why is it that beforehand when I used to go to sleep, when I was high and I was paranoid, it would go away, but now it's not. And it was persistent and I felt weird. I felt like as if I wasn't myself anymore. I felt a little bit disconnect from reality. Like I was more in my mind and less in reality. And that was a very scary feeling. Now, I didn't have panic attacks yet, but I had anxiety, very severe anxiety over there. And there's a difference between anxiety and panic attack. It's two different feelings. And I post that on Instagram on my page, the difference between an anxiety and a panic attack. So I said to myself, you know what, maybe let me get out of the house. It was already wintertime, but I said, I'm going to go to my sister's house. I walked to my sister's house and I was sitting over there with her in-laws, and I'm just quiet. I'm just quiet to myself, and they're like, is everything okay? My sister was like, everything okay? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I feel a little bit weird. I don't know what's going on with me. And throughout the day, I just felt a complete disconnect with myself and reality. And I just was confused. I didn't understand what was going on with me. Throughout the beginning stages of me experiencing anxiety was a very scary experience for me because I didn't understand what was going on with me. And every single day since that Friday was just getting worse. And I had more fear and I started having a panic attacks and I started becoming very sensitive. I was completely confused of what was going on with me and nobody was there to like explain to me like, hey, this is what's happening to you and this is what you can do. Whenever I would tell people like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing, they were kind of confused and they didn't quite understand like, okay, what's going on with you. They just didn't understand it. I would speak to my brother about it. He would try to explain it because my brother went through depression and he also has anxiety as well. He was trying to explain it to me, but I couldn't understand what he was trying to explain because I don't think he understood himself. Because that's why I realized later on when I had a better grasp, I was able to explain to him in a much more deeper detail about it. And then he kind of understood what it was, what he was experiencing. But like when I came back to my sister's house that day and just every single day passing, my anxiety started to get worse. I would try to speak to people, my mentor, my parents. I even remember we're going to the hospital one day because I felt like I had like physical because I started having panic attacks and I couldn't control them. They were very hard. I was just terrified of them. I thought there was something wrong with me. That's what I thought. I thought there was something physically wrong with me. Maybe I felt like I was going to die or go crazy. I thought maybe something wrong with my heart. I went to the hospital, I remember. I went by myself. And this is where the crying spell started to happen. And the doctor over there, they checked everything, blood tests, all those tests, and everything came out to be negative and everything was fine. So they sent me home. They discharged me. And when I got home, because I went by myself, I felt very alone. I was sitting, I remember, on the dining room table and I started to cry really, really hard in front of my entire family. And they were watching TV then. They looked at me in shock. They're like, what's going on with you? I said, I have no idea. I feel like I'm about to lose my mind. I feel like I'm losing myself. I do not feel like my old self anymore. And I can't stop crying. I was crying over there for 20 minutes. I said, I feel like there's something wrong with my heart. I feel like I'm about to die. I don't know. I just don't understand. And you guys don't understand what's happening with me. They were in shock. And I remember the next day we made an appointment to a cardiologist because the hospital recommended maybe go to a cardiologist, a specialist. And when me and my dad, he took me. I remember being in the office and the doctor was like, what's going on? I tried to explain to him. He told me, he's like, listen, you're 20 years old. You most likely have nothing wrong with your heart. But we'll, put a monitor on you for 24 hours and see what happens. He checked the results and everything was fine. He's like, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your heart or anything like that. And I was like, what's going on with me then? Why am I feeling these really strong pound, like chest pains that I have inside of me, like in my heart? And I'm just like, what's the reason I'm having this? I just confused. He's like, maybe it's a panic attack. And I was like, what is a panic attack? I don't know what that is. He tried to explain to me, but I couldn't comprehend it. I didn't understand what he was saying. My brother, he had a therapist here in New York. He told me, he's like, maybe you want to go to the therapist. Maybe he can help you. Maybe he can give you some clarity in what you're going through. And this is already a month in from the first time I experienced the panic attack, the anxiety attack that night. I said, sure, let's go see him. Maybe he's going to give me some clarity and maybe he can help me because I can't stop crying. Every time the sun would set, I would feel like this emptiness, like complete emptiness. And I would just feel depressed and I would start crying every single day. And I said, David, I can no longer handle this. This is way too much. Something is going on with me. I'm like, let's go see him. We set up an appointment. I go see him. It was a Friday that I went to go see him. And I'm sitting there explaining to him what I'm going through. He looks at me. It's already like 20 minutes into the session. I don't know exactly how long. He looks at me and he's like, Emmanuel, I have no idea what you're going through. I don't understand. Imagine, there's some psychologists out there. There are great, and some of them are just, don't want to say anything bad, but like, how don't you went to school for psychology? Like, after my own experience, like my own knowledge of panic attacks and anxiety attacks, That should be like a known thing. It's not like schizophrenia or anything like that. And you're telling me that you have no idea what I'm going through? That moment, I'll never forget. I was looking out the window. It was February time or January time, something like that. And I was just looking at the window and I was like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Then I went insane. That's what happened. That's what I thought in my mind. Like, I went insane. It's done. I'm finished. This is the way I'm going to be the rest of my life. I lost myself. I remember I told him, like, can we just end the session right here? I just don't feel well. I want to go home. He's like, sure, no problem. I go home and I was like, this is the worst. I'm like, David, you're a psychologist. I'm like, this is your psychologist. And today I realized that psychologist, because my brother couldn't even explain to me what he was going through when he was experiencing. He didn't even comprehend it. And now I realize that this guy is not, he's not bright. He didn't know what we were talking about. I'm like, this is the person that you went to? I'm like, it doesn't seem like he knows what I'm talking about. He understood the crying spells. He told me, he's like, you're having a lot of crying spells? I'm like, yes, I am. I'm crying a lot nonstop and I can't control that. I remember like cutting people off, being to myself, being home most of the time. I remember my parents trying to do some holistic stuff and some spiritual stuff in order to help me to take out the fear out of me, because somebody with a spiritual is like, you have a lot of fear inside of you. And I'm like, I don't feel that. I knew that it was, but I didn't comprehend that actually that's what it was. That's what's causing me all these physical pains and all these panic attacks and anxiety attacks. I didn't quite understand, and feeling like I'm disconnected with myself, like the depersonalization, derealization. I said, it can't be fear. I said, it doesn't make any sense. Fear, I know it feels like I'm scared of somebody, I'm scared of something. Then I feel like, okay, I'm afraid, but this doesn't feel that way. I said, I'm like, are you sure this is fear? Is this what it is? He's like, you have a lot of deep fear inside of you. I didn't accept it at the time, but the person was right. He was right about that. I did have a very deep fear, and that's where anxiety takes the power from, and it creates the panic attacks and the anxiety attacks and the depersonalization. The depersonalization was the scariest for me, because I would look at reality as if it was like I was in a dream. That's what it felt like. And I couldn't sometimes remember. It was like, was I dreaming about this situation, like a memory, or was I if this happened actually in real life, in reality? That's how hard it was for me to like differentiate between one another. But deep realization, I remember like I had it from the beginning. That's what I felt like, in and out of reality. And it would happen to me that I would go in and out of reality a lot, but I started to, after a while, it started to feel better with myself and the situation. I started to feel better. But then one night, what happened was my brother and my father, they were arguing. They got into a huge fight. And when somebody screams at me, or in general, just because of the way I grew up, I would shut down a lot. This is the way I was. Today, I'm not like that, but I would shut down a lot. Even when I was younger, I would try to stand up, but like inside, I would be shaking inside. And what happened that night, they were arguing, like really arguing, and that kind of sealed my depersonalization and derealization that I had for such a long time. Speaking about this just brings up a lot of memories, and it's just, sometimes it's hard still, even after all these years, because it was such a big impact in my life. And I'm very grateful today what I went through, but still at the same time, it was those moments of change that happened to me that made it worse. I said to myself, I need to get out of New York. I need to get away from my family. I said, I need to go away. I need it. It's going to help. I remember people telling me that you're just running away, you're escaping, but I didn't care. I didn't care because they didn't understand what I was going through. They didn't experience what I was experiencing. They never went through what I went through. If they went through what I went through, then maybe they would say it differently. And I didn't care what anybody said. I said, I'm going to go away from New York for a while. I need it for my own sanity. I need clarity. I decided to go to Israel for a one-way ticket I bought, because I didn't know how long it's going to take. But I said to myself, I need to get out. And I did. So when I got to Israel, I was already 3 months in to when I first experienced anxiety. And at this point, I was already in a severe depression. My depersonalization and realization was very severe. I remember when I was flying there and just looking at the map, there's a map where it shows the destination from like the origin to the destination, and I was questioning everything. My OCD at that point already was in a very severe state. I had like obsessive thoughts. It would take me with the obsessive thoughts was very hard, especially with the intrusive thoughts that I had. They were hard because I couldn't escape them. And I just didn't understand how I can get away from this because I was so lost, so confused, and I didn't understand. Again, I didn't understand what was going on with me. And once you understand what's going on with you and what you can do, it helps out so much. It really does. And at that point, I was just in a different state. I was completely lost over there. I was hopeless. And I thought I'm never going to get out of this situation. As I was saying, when I was in the plane and I would see the world map and I would see where the plane is landing, I would question it because of my depersonalization. I was like, why is this the world? Like, why? Like, very deep thoughts. And I would question the sun. Like, it's so weird that we have the sun. And again, because I felt a disconnect. To me right now, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I question it? But then it made sense. I would question everything, how things work, the way the leaves, how they used to look so fake. The sun used to look fake, everything. That's why I would question everything, because I didn't feel like I was connected to reality. And I didn't understand it then. And especially with my OCD thoughts, it made it worse. Because I would obsess about this. It wouldn't just let it go. It would obsess, and it would take me a long time just for it to change. And it wouldn't like the OCD thoughts just go away. No, what would happen, it would just change into something else. It would go from the sun to the trees to suicidal thoughts, which was really tough for me. That one. Because there was a point that I didn't want to continue anymore because of this. Because I thought I lost my mind. But at that point already, I didn't shave, I didn't shower, I didn't care my appearance, I didn't care about anything. I wouldn't socialize with people. I would just be to myself. And I remember I didn't have any appetite whatsoever. My father would like eat. I'm like, I don't want to eat. I lost a lot of weight. I didn't want to eat. I said, I'm good. I don't want. I didn't have an appetite. Whenever we got to Israel, and again, over there, of course, is much better weather. The weather over there is it's a warmer climate, which does help experiencing the winter in New York. It's completely different. It has palm trees, blue skies. It's much more sunnier over there. When I got there, I stayed in my aunt's house over there. And I remember after 2 weeks, she asked me, like, hey, where are you going to be staying? I'm like, and how long are you going to be staying? She literally wanted me out of the house. I didn't know what to do. I said, I'm going to find maybe a friend. I had some friends over there that were staying. So I stayed at my friend's house. I stayed from different places. I went from place to place. And my father's like, you sure you don't want to come back? I'm like, no, I'm good. I need some help, and I need a space from you guys. And I just need space from New York. I need to change my perspective and figure out what's going on with me. I went to my mentor over there, and I spoke to him what was going on with me. He's like, hey, listen, I have a therapist over here that can help you. And I said, listen, I've been to a few therapists. They haven't helped me. He's like, try it out. You never know. I was like, sure, no problem. I give the guy a call. I set up an appointment with him. I get to his place. And I remember the first second when I started to speak, I just started to cry. I couldn't stop crying because of all that emotion that I was going through, all that panic attack. I was terrified of being by myself. It was hard for me to be myself. I had my cousin had to take me to the psychologist. I had my cousin take me places. I had to be with my cousin wherever he went. He went to work. I was with him. He used to work, thank God, not in an office. He used to work in a more of parties like DJs and everything. That's what he used to work. So it was more nighttime. So I used to go and work with him and even spend the day with him. I used to go to his house. I used to spend a lot of time with him and my other cousin a lot. They used to be with me and help me. And that really helped me out. I felt more of a calmness when I used to be with somebody that would help me out, because they also helped my brother when he went through his situation. Because I said, if they didn't understand what's going on, they didn't, but they helped him out and he was in a very severe case, then they can definitely help me out. So everywhere I would go, I would be with them, either or, one of them. And I wouldn't be able to be by myself. So when I came to the therapist, I couldn't hold it in, and I started to cry with him. And I told him, like, listen, I'm depressed. And it's crazy what he told me. I'll never forget. He's like, Emmanuel, you're not depressed. You're sad. I was like, whoa. He literally like changed my perspective about that. I was like, yeah, I'm extremely sad. He's like, no, you're just sad. He's like, let's not make it bigger than it is. And while I was like explaining to him what I was going through, he's like, I want to tell you something, man. He's like, I went through the same exact thing. When he told me that, as most of you guys know, when somebody tells you like, hey, I went through the same thing, you feel like this relief. You're sitting there like, whoa, I was just shocked. I'm like, finally, you went through the same thing? I told him, you actually went through what I'm going through? I'm like, there's no freaking way. I told him, I feel like I went insane. He's like, since you understand, since you comprehend that there's something wrong, then you didn't go insane, because you understand like, hey, something is off, something is wrong. It's only when you don't understand that there's something's off, then you're like, okay, then that's how you know you went insane. When you understand like, okay, nothing's wrong with me. And even if you acted that way. And it kind of gave me a relief. It calmed me down. Just him saying that, like, hey, I went through that calmed me down. Because as most of you guys know, that lonely feeling, as nobody understands what you're going through, thinking that you lost your mind, that feeling, if somebody finally understands what you went through, is amazing. It is amazing to feel that. And I felt such a relief just from that one session. And I went to him for a long time, and he helped me out a lot. Even before I went through to this therapist, I came to the point of being so hopeless because I never thought I would get out of the situation. I went to a psychiatrist to maybe take medication. Maybe he said maybe that's going to help, because I had no other choice. Everything that I've done so far, every single person I spoke to has no idea what I'm going through. Maybe a psychiatrist does. He definitely has dealt with something like this. So why not? Let's go try it out. I said to my cousin, like, let's make an appointment. We made the appointment and everything. We went, and I was sitting in the psychiatrist. I told him exactly what I was going through. He told me, he's like, okay, it seems like you have anxiety disorder. He was the first one to actually tell me, even before the therapist told me this. But with a therapist, he went through it. So it's a different kind of connection and different understanding. And the psychiatrist didn't really speak to me. He just like, okay, here are your prescribed medication, and here you go. And he's like, he gave me a few to take before I went to get the prescription. As I'm sitting there outside, I remember with my cousin, he puts my brother on the phone. My brother, he took medication for right now close to 17 years. We're slowly trying to wean him off it, but it takes time because of the withdrawals and everything and addictions. So he got me on the phone with my brother, and he's like, listen, Emmanuel, he's like, I heard that you want to take meds. He's like, there's nothing wrong with it, but like, just understand that with the meds, it's much harder to overcome it. He said it's because it's like the addiction, the withdrawals, the side effects. He's like, there's a lot of things to it that the psychiatrist is not going to tell you. And I know my brother, he knows about this stuff because he went through it. He went through those horrible side effects. He's like, Emmanuel, you remember what I went through. He's like, trust me, just wait a little bit and you'll feel better. Just don't take the meds right now. And I was like, David, I am helpless. I'm hopeless. I need help. I need something. I need some sort of hope over here. The meds were giving me hope that maybe I can get better. I'm like, I need it. He's like, I understand that. He's like, just please do me a favor. Don't take the meds. He's just wait. He's like, the meds are always there. He's like, but there's a lot of side effects. There's a lot of things to it that if you did it naturally, it would be much better. And I said, you know what? I am going to take your word for it. I'm going to trust you on it. I'm not going to take the meds. And I took the meds, and I remember I threw it out. I said, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to try to do it the old natural way and try to get over it. It was hard to do that. It was very hard to do that because I came to that point of hopeless and I just didn't want to live anymore. And this is all before I met the psychologist. I felt already hopeless. The psychologist gave me hope because finally somebody understood what I was going through. That helped me out a lot, as most of you guys know. I came to the point where I was so hopeless that I said to myself, I no longer want to live because I'm suffering every single day with panic attacks, with anxiety attacks. I even went to the hospital so many times that the medical staff knew who I was already. They already knew when I walked in. I'm like, this guy he's just making things up. That really also hurt me because I felt pain, physical pain in my body. But again, that was all from the anxiety. They did MRI, CT scans, x-rays, blood tests, everything that you can think of just to make sure that everything's fine, and everything was fine. I used to go to the doctor a lot because I used to be afraid of my appendicitis. I thought it was going to erupt and kill me. I used to be terrified of that. And after a while, they stopped taking me to the hospital. My family, they stopped taking me to the hospital over there because they knew nothing was wrong with me. I remember even my aunt, one of my aunts, she telling me this, that it's why are you depressed? I'll never forget this. Why are you depressed? What do you have to be depressed about? You don't have debt. Did you break up recently with your girlfriend or something? Did you get divorced? Did you lose a child? Something happen to you? And I was sitting there, I'm like, no, but I don't know why. I have no idea why I'm going through this. I have no idea. I wish I didn't have it. It's not like I chose it, hey, bring it on. And I just feel depressed. It just came out of nowhere. And I really don't know. And today I realized why I was depressed. It was because I had no hope in getting out of my anxiety. And because I just didn't understand what it was. And with the psychologist, he gave me clarity of exactly what it was and everything. He gave me that understanding and hope. Hey, you can get out of it. But to come to say that to somebody, I would never say that. What are you depressed about? Everybody's going through their own thing and what they can handle. But there came to that point where I just no longer wanted to live. And I remember where I was. It was for already a week that I was thinking about this because, again, when I would have obsessive thoughts, these thoughts just wouldn't go away. They would just be obsessed about it and everything it can be. And it would just latch there for a week or two and just wouldn't go away no matter what I did. And that's very hard to deal with that obsessive thoughts. And I just didn't know what to do with it. But my obsessive thought of not wanting to live, I was just picturing myself not wanting to live anymore and how to do it. But I came to that point. I remember where I was sitting because for 2 weeks I was fighting back and forth with these thoughts. And I remember where I was sitting. I'm like, Manuel, why do you want to do this? Why is it that you want to end it? I said to myself, you're a coward if you do this. You said you want the easy way out. The easy way out is not the answer. That's what I said to myself. And when that moment when I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to fight back, a whole entire different mind think shifted. I no longer wanted to commit suicide. I no longer wanted to do that anymore. I said, I'm going to fight and I'm going to figure it out. And that's where I went to go see my mentor. And that's when I started to tell myself, when I was with my cousin, after a while, I used to work with him at nighttime and I used to get tired. I want to go to sleep. I used to tell him, you know what? I said one night, I'm going to try and go home by myself. I'm going to take the bus and go home by myself. How scary is that to do with someone with an anxiety attack or panic attack? And they're going by themselves. I didn't know what would happen. Maybe something's going to happen to me, medically, and who's going to help me? I'm going to be by myself with strangers. What's going to happen? And I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, that's just what my mind is trying to control me. I said to myself, I'm not going to let it happen. I'm going to try to go on the bus by myself. The first time I did it, I was terrified. I was scared shitless. But once I got home, I felt amazing. I felt amazing that I was able to conquer that. It took me a while again afterwards to do it myself, but I did it one time. I said to myself, I'm going to do it again eventually. When I started to see the therapist over there, then I was able to more motivate myself and do that because he explained to me in such a way that, like, hey, Emmanuel, nothing dangerous is really happening with you. It's just in your mind. And he went into detail. He helped me out how to change, how to look at things in a certain way. He did CBT with me. That really helped me out. He did the breathing exercise he taught me, the focus exercise he taught me. He made me understand what anxiety was. And then that point already, it was much easier for me to overcome it because I understood the anxiety was just controlling me and I wasn't in control. After all this, all this experience that I went through, it took me a good 8 months. After 8 months of experience this, I remember where I was. I was on the way to my cousin's barbershop. He has a barbershop over there. And I was walking down the street and then all of a sudden I snapped out of the depersonalization finally. I'll never forget that feeling. That feeling was, I can't even describe it because I was like, wow, I finally overcame my anxiety. My panic attacks started to reduce. My anxiety attacks started to reduce. But again, of course, it took me another 2.5 years to completely overcome it because I had ups and downs. And that's what's going to happen. There's going to be ups and downs. And even though I understood it, I always did a lot more research. I always worked on myself. I completely changed my life, my lifestyle, my mindset, my belief system about myself, my self-esteem, my self-confidence. I changed it and I grew from it. But it wasn't an easy experience, of course. But today I'm really happy that I went through it because I wouldn't be the person that I am today and I wouldn't be able to help out so many people like I have. I'm very happy that I'm able to connect with so many people and help them out and give them hope. I am also happy that my brother told me, like, don't take the meds, try it naturally. Again, each person to their own, however you want to do it. This is just my own experience. I'm not trying to advise you what to do. A lot of people ask me if I ever tried natural remedies. And I have. I tried holistic. I tried natural remedies. I've tried spiritual stuff. Spiritual things do help. Like connecting more spiritually helped me. And it's hard when you're depressed. But regardless, even if I felt it or not, I would still do it. Because I knew that it would get me to that point of the connection and the spirituality. And the thing that I did do with natural remedies is I tried this rescue. It didn't really help. I'll tell you the truth. It didn't help me at all. I think it was more of a placebo effect that I took it and I was like my safety. Like, okay, that this people said it helped, so it helped me. But I wish in my day there was, CBD. I really wish that there was. Because even today, I take CBD right now for sleep. Because again, my anxiety fluctuates, but not to the point of anxiety disorder, but like, through life events. And that really helps me to calm down, to help me sleep. It's anti-inflammatory. There's a lot of benefits to it. And I really wish there was. And I recommend people trying it out, see how it is. It's not the same as marijuana. There's no THC. And if there is, it's like 0.3%, which doesn't get you high. It calms you down. It really calms you down and helps you to feel more relaxed. That thing I wish there was back then. But that didn't really help me. People with IBS, I know a lot of people have this. I also had it very severe. I went to specialists and nobody was able to help me. I had to change my diet. I had to go on a gluten-free diet, which I would prefer not even eating the gluten because that gluten-free is just not tasty at all. But with the IBS, the way to actually help is try to do breathing exercise. It helps calm down the stomach. And generally speaking, eat healthier. It's going to help. It really does. Cut out the sugar. Drink more water. Stay hydrated. Don't eat white bread. Eat more whole wheat or sourdough bread. That's really going to help with the digestive as well. Try not to try not to drink regular milk, like whole milk. Try to drink like A2 milk, which ultra pasteurized. It really helps with the stomach. I still drink it because sometimes I get stressed out. But the number one thing that did help me was understanding what anxiety is, have a better grasp of what it is, what I was experiencing, understanding that my anxiety is not who I am. It's a separation of what I'm experiencing and that there's a much deeper level. the way I got over anxiety, the way I healed myself was with my mindset more, changing my mindset, because it was a much longer lasting result that I had. And that helped me out a lot. And today, it took me a good 3 years, but making that switch in the mindset that I had from negative thinking to positive thinking, from a low self esteem to make it a higher self esteem, from a low self confidence to a higher self confidence, to working on the past events, certain traumas that I've had, certain things that affected me in a negative way, certain beliefs that came from my parents of how the world was, and fear, and changing all that and rebuilding myself really helped me, because I came to understand that the reason why we have anxiety is because of the mindset that we currently have. And if we change that, then the anxiety can go away. But understand what anxiety is going to help you a lot. It's going to significantly help you. But if you wanted to completely eradicate it from your life, completely get it disconnected from you, and you don't have to feel that anymore, is by working on your mindset and the belief system. And just don't give up. There is hope. There is a way to get out of it. I got out of it. There's also a lot of other people that have overcome this and have healed themselves. And it's possible to overcome what you're going through. I know it seems hard, but I believe that there is a way. And I will be more than happy to help you guys out with that and show you the way with other videos. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do by clicking on the subscription button and the notification bell so that you can receive notification of whenever my new videos do come out. I hope if you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know in the comments below, and maybe you can share your own experience, or it's something that you want me to talk about. I'm more than happy to do that. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.